few years ago, something really dismaying happened. In a conversation with a 24-year-old, I found out he had never heard of Ted Nugent. It was such a sad moment. This is someone who was really up on current music, and I thought he would at least know, historically, who Ted Nugent was. He had no idea. And to me, that was an indicator that below a certain age, unless someone's really into music and really knows their music history, they don't know Ted Nugent is. You have to be a certain age to know of Ted Nugent. So dismaying, so sad. I guess you could call this sort of a tribute to Ted Nugent. I recently did a tribute to Buddy Cianci, where I talked about my impressions of Buddy Cianci, never having met Buddy Cianci, just knowing people who knew him, and the fact that I was about to co-star in a Derek Shapiro production movie with Buddy Cianci when he died. So we never did get to co-star in Derek's film. And I talked about, one of the things I mentioned talking about Buddy Cianci was how he was one of so very few people I knew who had fame, were known by a lot of people, but you really, really knew that he didn't think of himself as a celebrity. And I've known so few well-known people that were really genuinely that way. And I would say that in that way, he was similar to Ted Nugent. Well, I'll try to explain. I'm thinking of one time in particular, back in, I believe it was 1978, at a concert at the Cape Cod Coliseum. If you've ever been to the Cape Cod Coliseum in the old days, I don't know if it even exists anymore or if it does, what it's like now. If it still exists, it must be changed, because back then it was, well, the word toilet would be a really accurate description, because it was a coliseum only in that it was bowl shaped, and it just would remind you of a toilet bowl. It was such a dump. But many, many great concerts, many, many great musicians appeared there. This particular Ted Nugent gig is what really stands out in my mind. It was so impressive. Especially one moment where he was playing and people were throwing, it was boiling hot summer, and that place in the summer that Cape Cod Coliseum got so hot in the summer. People were throwing fireworks at him. I'm not talking little firecrackers. I'm talking about, they were throwing major M80s, barrel bombs, all kinds of heavy, heavy fireworks right at him. I mean, hitting him with them. A short time previous to that, I had been at a Van Halen concert in this same place. And I remember David Lee Roth was kind of amused by it, the same treatment, and was tolerating it. But you could tell he was a little nervous. He did say a few times, "Hey, whoa, take it easy. I want to get out of here alive, But not Ted Nugent. Of course, he was, as he customarily played on stage, wearing nothing but a loincloth. So there was all that bare skin. And he was playing his ass off, and these fireworks were landing on him, burning him. His hair was on fire. He was getting burned, unbelievable burn marks all over his body. I mean, he was sitting there frying from fireworks and different explosives while he was playing. And he had the most ecstatically happy look on his face, and he was screaming. And when a group of people would have a bunch of stuff, heavy explosive stuff to throw at him, he would go right toward them and go right into it, welcoming with open arms, being burned by this stuff and having the greatest time of his life. And the thing is, right there, I knew that compared to this experience of his own fans almost burning him to death, to him, this was such a good time that all his fame, all his wealth, all his possessions, everything he had was nothing to him compared to this moment. This was what he lived for, what he was experiencing right at that moment in this dump they called the Cape Cod Coliseum. And I was going to say there are so few people like Ted Nugent. I have to admit, there's nobody like Ted Nugent. No one. As I said, the closest you would have to bring up someone like Buddy Cianci to make a comparison to Ted Nugent. And again, I don't think Buddy was into getting burned like that. So the comparison isn't exact. They wouldn't exactly mesh right together, but they would be remotely similar to each other. And few other people could be even remotely similar. And I'm sure I'll do more. This won't be it. I got to do more than this. This is just number one. This is just my first tribute video to Ted Nugent. There will be more. There has to be.